Welcome to your Essential Business Briefing. I'm Stephen Carroll. Coming up, finding love in a crowded place, how a French startup is trying to revolutionise online dating for the under-25s. Two new female CEOs are named to lead top flight companies in France, but why isn't gender equality coming faster to the boardroom? Plus, the aerospace training schools shaking up their teaching to focus more on how to make flying more environmentally friendly. The pandemic has pushed more of our lives online, but it's been a challenging time for many dating apps. One big player, Tinder, saw a record number of users active on its platform in 2021, but its parent company, Match, still reported a loss in the last 3 months of the year. Its rival Bumble went public a year ago, but its shares tumbled after the company reported a fall in paying users in the third quarter of 2021. A French company is aiming to shake up the online dating scene with its app Feels, and CEO and co-founder Daniel Sheab joins us now. Daniel, thanks for being with us. You describe Feels as being an anti-dating app. What does that mean?
An anti-dating app is just everything opposite about what we know about dating apps today, which means no swipes, no match, and a lot of content, because this is not what we get today as an experience on existing dating apps.
So describe to us then, what do users see when they create a profile on your app and they start looking?
We have a long onboarding. That's the first very differentiated experience. So you have to share at least 6 videos or photos and answer 3 questions. And Feels turns that into a video story with motion design. So once you are done with the onboarding, the experience is very immersive. You get to see a lot of content about one person.
And what inspired you to come up with that design? There are elements of the app that kind of remind me a little bit of TikTok. I don't know if that was a necessary or one of your inspirations.
It was definitely an inspiration, but the objective at the start was to provide an immersive experience for users. And the best immersive experience that we could see at the moment was TikTok providing this full screen experience. And for the dating experience, it's really something that you want to do. You want to get into people's life. You want to understand who they are. And this is why the full screen experience was the one that we put first in the app.
So when you're browsing then and you find somebody that you're interested in, what happens next in the app?
So basically, you see a lot of content about the person, and if you want to get in touch with this person, you have to react to a content. So you have to choose among 9 different contents and react on it. So you react by choosing a reaction, an emoji, or a GIF, a sticker, and then you add a personal message. That was a very important part of the experience. We wanted to make it more personal, and then the person receives the message. And then it's a discussion. We don't put the pressure on users saying it's a match. No, it's a discussion, and then it's the feeling. That's why we called it Feels, by the way.
Okay, well, tell me, who are you targeting with this app? Who's your ideal target audience?
The ideal target today is Gen Z, but we didn't started focusing specifically on Gen Z. It just turned out that this experience is more fit to the Gen Z behaviors, because they have a lot of content on their phone, right? They have smartphone in their hands since they are 12 years old. So yeah, it ended up being the 18 to 22 years old, and 90% of our users are this age.
Are you targeting users in any particular country? Is there a part of the world that you're focusing on?
Well, we started in France, but we always saw France more as a laboratory country. Our ambition is to go to the US. The US is the #1 market. If you want to be a global brand, if you want to be a global app, this is where you have to succeed first. So this is where our ambition lies. And then this is at least 3 to 4 years for us of focus, and then we'll see what comes next.
What's your business model? How do you plan to make money?
We do already make money. The business is very close to what is actually existing on other apps. It's a premium subscription, so it's a freemium model. Most of the usage is for free, but if you want to go a bit farther in the experience, there are some features that you can access only if you pay the premium access, which is putting your profile, highlighting your profile to other users. So that's basically the premium features.
So how then do you compete with the giants in this industry? We know that the likes of Tinder or Bumble are names that we hear a lot when we talk about dating apps. They've got huge numbers of users. How do you plan to compete?
It's going from 0 to 1, right? So at the start, you have zero network effects. You have limited number of users, and then you grow step by step. What we focused on at the start is to be the best second app users could have, because we cannot compete on the number of users. We can compete on the quality of the experience we provide you. And our objective is that today you simply use both, because this is how it is at the start. But when you use fields, then you feel that the experience is really much more, you get much more satisfaction from the usage. And then when you go back to Tinder, then you feel how superficial and boring it is. And in the long term, once we get to the right network effects, this is how we can overthrow companies like Tinder or Bumble.
What's your next big milestone for the business?
The next big milestone is launching the US, and this is why I'm currently and the team is currently focusing a lot in the US.
And what's the timeline for that?
Timeline is Q2 2022 for the launch.
Okay, well, we wish you luck with that as well. Daniel Scheib from Fields, thank you very much for speaking to us. Now, a small but significant shift is happening in French boardrooms this year. By this summer, there will be 3 female CEOs of companies that make up the CAC 40 stock index. Crystal Heidemann will take up the reins of the telecoms giant Orange in April, while Estelle Brachlianoff has been named the top job at the water and waste group Veolia. They'll join Catherine McGregor from Engie at the top ranks of French corporate leadership. Progress towards gender equality in companies has been very slow. Kate Moody's been looking into this area in more detail. Kate, could you start by telling us about the legal obligations that French companies are under?
Well, Stephen, 2 big pieces of legislation have been enacted over the last decade or so. A 2011 law required large companies to have at least 40% of each gender on their boards by 2020. A new law passed last year calls on firms to ensure that 30% of their senior managers are female by 2027 and 40% by 2030. France also has rules addressing pay disparity and corporate transparency on gender balance. Companies that don't comply may face fines.
So how does the situation in France compare to other countries?
Well, the quotas have contributed to a pretty major rebalancing here. The number of women on French boards is now 4 times higher than it was a decade ago, putting France at the top of global rankings for gender diversity in the boardroom. Last year, just over 43% of board seats were held by women, according to these calculations by Deloitte. Norway has a similar record. Italy, Belgium, and Sweden round out the top 5. The UK came in 9th with just over 30% of female board members, with Germany and the US in 12th and 19th places, respectively. 9 of the top 20 have national quotas. They're marked with an asterisk on our chart there. The disparity is much greater at the top level. Only 5% of CEOs around the world are women.
So what can be done to improve these figures?
Well, quotas are effective to a certain degree, as we've seen in France. Campaign groups say that national policies on paid family leave and childcare are crucial to allow working mothers to advance more in their careers. Mentorship programs can help close the gender gap, as can assigning women to roles that generate revenue. Companies with female CEOs also have significantly more women in senior management and board director roles, as well as in the pipeline for top positions. Leading by example may be a real game changer.
Okay, Kate Moody, thank you. Well, the aerospace sector is under pressure to reduce its carbon footprint and reach net zero emissions by 2050. It will be a difficult target to meet, but for a new generation of students attending France's elite aerospace schools, the environment has become a greater priority. Our correspondent Chris Bachman reports from Toulouse.
This is one of the most prestigious aerospace schools in Europe. Until a few years ago, the 1,900 or so students followed a traditional program that provided them with a job in the industry on graduation. But these days, the courses are very different, with a huge focus on the environmental impact of the aerospace industry.
Students today are much more involved in this transition towards green aviation, for instance, and so they are expecting us to deliver courses in this field. And so we had started before. It was, I would say, in 2018, 2019 that really the demand became much more visible than what was the case before.
On the campus, the environment is omnipresent. This class focused on new drones using hydrogen as an alternative fuel source. And in another room, students are working together on an energy reduction project which could be used on board aircraft one day.
I think as the future generation, we have to take care of the planet, so including recycling water systems.
At the Honora Research Centre, focused on decarbonising the aerospace sector, the 200 research postgraduates are insisting on a new approach.
They are more sensitive to climate change, in fact. It's a new motivation for us to perform and to be involved in such research activities.
Even if it's very difficult to get into aerospace schools, about a third of the graduates end up looking for jobs in other sectors, often because they find the environmental challenges more interesting elsewhere. Leo is one of them, with this solar panel-run vehicle he's designing.
We will need planes in the future. They are very important, but we have to change the mindset of the people.
Aerospace schools point out when environmental courses were first offered 8 years ago, there were few takers. Now they are a compulsory part of the training on offer.
That's all from us for now, but you'll find this and all of our previous programmes available to watch on our website and as a podcast wherever you usually listen. And we're on social media for your comments and questions. Until next time, thanks for watching.
The 25th of December 1991 marks the dissolution of the Soviet Union. On that day, a superpower broke up into 15 independent states. Our reporters visited Ukraine, Estonia and Georgia, 3 former Soviet republics that are now at the center of a new Cold War between Europe and Russia.
Здесь стоит памятник Иосифу Виссарионовичу Сталину, который был поставлен к 75-летию победы советского народа над фашистской Германией.
30 years after the collapse of the USSR, a new geopolitical battle is raging, fought with propaganda, tanks and hackers.
Cyber attacks can be as serious as physical attacks.
Don't miss the USSR Revisited on France 24 and France24.com.